So here's the deal. Uh, Rage 2 recently came out, and I wanted to give it the benefit of the doubt because id Software made it, and Doom 2016 was one of those titles that I thought I wasn't going to like, but I ended up really liking. It was very well optimized. It played a lot better than I thought it'd be. It was one of those you have to play it yourself instead of just watching someone else kind of play it because it was just a fast paced action pace. Like when you're just sitting there watching someone do this, I guess, in an Unreal Tournament kind of way. Like, sure, if you're watching an actual Unreal tournament, it's all right. But whenever you actually play it, it's a totally different feeling. So I was trying to give Rage 2 the benefit of the doubt. You know, maybe just watching it, it didn't come off as boring as I thought it was going to be. And unfortunately, I was wrong this time around. Rage 2 is very bland. It's very boring in its story, in its villain, its general setting. It's trying. The art itself isn't bad. The settings don't actually look bad. They're just bland. I don't know how to describe it. Like, sure, it's a desert. All right. Let's say part of the map is a desert. The desert, like all the features in the desert and everything look great. Like you have different types of cactus and leaves and like dust winds and all this other kind of stuff, all the clouds and the lighting and the setting itself looks great for what it is, but it's still just a desert. Like this, there's nothing else that's really going on. And sure, you might see some things in the background, you know, you want to go explore, but just in general, this game just comes off as boring. You have a generic assault rifle with no real like alternative fires or anything like that. You have a generic shotgun. The shotgun though has like a slug round you can shoot off armored targets. So like a guy comes up, he's bulky in armor, you know, you could kind of like blast off his armor real quick before you start filling him with, you know, pellet shot. All right, fine. You know, there's some variety as you get later into the game, sure, but like the first few hours of this game have absolutely dragged on and there's no challenge to it. I'm not saying that as someone who has experience with first person shooters, but there's these combat ratings, you know, for every single one of these areas that you might want to visit on the map. You know, it's like, oh, hey, this one has a difficulty of like 4 out of 10, 6 out of 10, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So you go to these different areas and you can, as long as you like, or at least half competent, and you see like an explosive barrel and they're standing next to it, and you're like, okay, well, the difficulty just went down. Like, it seems like the difficulty is just rated by like how many guys are actually in like these strongholds and stuff. And you just go in there, you just mop the floor with them regardless of what the difficulty rating is. And it's just boring. The game's just boring. I hope this isn't like a precedent for what Doom Eternal is going to be, because I'm excited for Doom Eternal. Doom 2016 made me excited for Doom Eternal, and I hope that id Software isn't looking at Rage 2 on how they should handle it, because there's so many design flaws, not just in the boring aspect of it, but in this whole game in general. So I made a small list of stuff. It's a collectathon. It's a massive collectathon. There's like 8 different currencies throughout this entire game. And, you know, you need a different type of currency to upgrade your vehicle. You need different types of currency to upgrade your gun. You need a different kind of currency to upgrade your character. You need a different kind of currency. And none of it's like experience based or anything like that. Like, all of it is running around collecting shit. And if somehow your character has enough money, you can just buy those same exact parts off of vendors, and then you can probably get the upgrades. And now, of course, if you want like every single possible upgrade, you can buy all of the ones from the vendors and then still go out there and find all of the ones from all these strongholds and stuff like that. But it's just a massive collectathon. The second you enter a base, what's one of the first things that comes up on your UI? It's a list of how many chests are in it, how many PDAs to pick up for, like some background story and stuff like that are in it, how many of the arc chests are in it, and arc chests are just really special chests that have like more rare upgrades in them. Luckily, it's not like a loot box kind of thing, but still, it's just a massive collectathon. Like, I'm not kidding when constantly running around to different areas on the map just to try and find different parts for upgrades. It's when you have 8+ different kind of currencies going on here, I don't want it. Like, I don't want to run around and collect that many things. And this is going to be a small gripe. I got to admit, this part's going to be a small gripe. Every single time you open a chest, a loud bass-like noise plays, like as an epic kind of like you open the chest kind of thing. So like you pop open a regular chest, let's say there's $200 in it. Like $200 is nothing in the whole grand scheme of the game. But you open up that chest, you punched it open, and like just in big font, $200 shows up on your screen. Like, you don't need all of that. They're putting all of this extra flair in this game to the point where it's just more annoying than anything else. For instance, the vehicle that you drive, the basic vehicle that you get, it has an AI that's built into it, and the car talks to you on occasion. The car talks to you every single time you repair it, every single time you get out, every time you get in, every single time you reach your destination. The AI has to say something every single time, and it's not the voice actor's fault. I don't mind the voice actor. It's the fact that they have to make it consistently always talk. Speaking of talking, there's no skipping side quest dialogue. So if you run up to a character in a city and you're like, hey, look, what do you got for me? There's just talking and talking and talking. And sometimes you just don't want to hear it. You're like, okay, give me the quest. Let me roll. Like, give me the mission. I want to roll. Like, I don't want this whole sad sob story about how you lost your car and now you want to get it back. Like, I've seen this all before. Maybe it is just me being slightly jaded, but like, at least give me the option to skip. At least give me that. But they couldn't do that. And speaking of giving me keys to do specific things, this game, Rage 2, is a massive PC port. It is not made for PC. And how do I know that it's not made for PC? They don't allow you to disable lens flare. They don't allow you to disable bloom or any kind of blur. None of those options, at least from what I saw, were in graphic settings. So like none of that. They let you change the resolution. They let you change specific settings for shadows and stuff like that. But for some reason, like a lot of the other stuff that I usually tend to turn off, like that was not a thing that you can mess with. And the control scheme in general for PC is sad. By default, they wanted to make C crouch. Okay, you're not the first dev that did that, but it turns out they decided to, by default, make control something else, which was this focus, right? Which is kind of like a secondary fire for your character's special abilities. So right off the bat, I'm thinking, okay, naturally, I know like control needs to be crouch instead of C. So then I just pretty much switched control and C. So now anytime I need to do like an alternate fire or a dash, I need to somehow hold C while I'm also doing WASD. And you think that'd be easy, but your thumb is on the space bar in case you need to jump. So then if you need to like dash and you need to move around a whole lot, they're expecting you to use WASD control and space bar, but control as a means to use special abilities and not as a way to crouch or do anything specific like duck behind cover. So when I swapped it and now I'm trying to use my special abilities, now like one of my fingers has to kind of like go out of its way. It's just really strange. They also wanted to set up X as a way to swap grenade and gadget types, and then Q for some reason was change weapons? Why is Q change weapons? I have a scroll wheel. Hell, I even have the numbers. Like, why did you make Q swap and the sad part is that you can't leave any of these controls empty. Like, they made Q swap weapons. And if you were to try and make swap weapons something else, that's fine. But that also, from what I can tell, means that you're going to want to use Q for something else. I don't know where their general direction was when it came. Like, what if I don't want to swap weapon button at all? I guess I'm just going to have to use up a random key on the board somewheres, like, I don't know, like / or something like that, to try and, I guess, get rid of it, like push it to the side somewheres. And I don't know where their general direction for controls and the UI went, because it kind of just seems like they weren't on the same page in development. Speaking of controls, once I unlocked double jump, I was having a much easier time navigating these strongholds, killing off bandits and mutants and stuff like that, because, you could climb around a lot more. It adds more verticality to an already somewhat horizontal experience. So all of a sudden, I enter in the city, and, well, I can understand guns being disabled, special abilities being disabled, but double jump is disabled. So I fall, I don't know, 3 foot. 3 foot. And usually your character could like grab onto a ledge if he jumps high enough. But now they have to put all these ladders everywhere. And you'll notice it too when you do play. The cities have ladders everywhere for any kind of vertical stuff. And it's because I guess they knew that they were going to disable double jump. Like, why can't I just double jump in the city? Let me double jump. You let me double jump everywhere else in the game, but you're not going to let me double jump in the city. No, I'm going to have to go through the climbing ladder animation and stuff like that. It's just a lot of small, like, where were you going with this designs? And I just don't understand it. For instance, when I swapped Control and C, for crouch and this focus, what they call focus. Now, you have to hold C for specific things. You need to hold C to unlock arcs. You need to hold C to unlock arc chest. You need to hold C to collect these rocks. So, like, throughout the game, I think it's called ferrite or something like that. I already forgot what it was called. I know it begins with an F. But it itself is another currency to worry about. So in order to collect it, you need to look at it like your crosshair needs to be on it. And then you need to hold C, at least for me, for 2 to 3 seconds, as long as the crosshair doesn't move off of it. So then it could wiggle the rock out of place and then it collects into your inventory. And when there's these moments where a meteorite falls from the sky and lands, and it's pretty much, like a jackpot moment where you're like, hey, look, I need to go get that because that's going to be a shit ton of that rock currency. This meteorite is covered in these rocks. So you have to stand there. Out of the, maybe I'm going to say like 15 like stones that are on it, you have to go around this rock and hold C for every single one of these things. It's tedious. It's really aggravating. If you could have let me just, I don't know, just like melee them off or something, I would have been fine. Speaking of melee, the melee range is absolutely terrible. It's garbage. Unless you're in combat, it's absolutely garbage. You could stand right in front of a wooden box, just right in front of it, enough to where your character practically kicks it. And when you do the melee looking straight down, sometimes it's not enough to break that box. I'm talking like your character's animation takes the butt of the gun and slams it forward. That's what? Maybe 2 foot? 2.5? 3 foot? You're telling me a crate, like a wooden crate that's maybe waist height, isn't going to get hit at all by your melee? It's that short. Like I don't know where they were coming off with that. And during combat, combat isn't that bad. It feels like a Doom 2016, except, how do I put it? Except they added armored targets to an extent. Like, it's nice, like shooting at an armored target and watching all the armor like plink off of them and stuff like that, because it does matter where you hit the target and then it plinks off the armor. Well, it's fine. So like this completely armored guy can like come running in. If you put off enough damage onto his helmet and shoot off his helmet, now that his head's exposed, boom, all of a sudden he's dead. Like, he's down. It doesn't matter. Like, I like that. That adds, I guess, some sense of playability to it, to where you're not always just shooting for a specific spot. You can make that specific spot. If for some reason you notice that all the armor on their arm is missing, but the rest of their body still has it, you can shoot their arm and it will still count as like a flesh hit, and you can even get the kill from that. So, all right, that's great. But at the same time, like I said, this is just a massive collectathon. Like, it's just a massive chore. I feel like if I were to speed run this, if I were to really give it a go, if I were to just really roll through it, I get less than 5 hours. Because honestly, like I said, the difficulty on this, and I picked normal. I didn't pick super hard or super easy. I just picked normal just to see where it will go. I'd still feel like it'd be just too easy. And we all know like harder difficulty is just going to make them hit harder and add, like more beef to their HP. So, I mean, you're running around on the map. All of a sudden you come across a bandit out camp. You wipe out all the bandits. Notification comes up on the screen saying how many chests and how many PDAs are in that bandit out camp, and you find all of them. All of a sudden it's clear. You're driving down the road again. All of a sudden there's like an enemy turret position, and you have to destroy the enemy turret position. And once you destroy the enemy turret position, of course you get a currency for that. There's a currency for destroying specific things as well. Like, there's a currency for upgrading. I can't get over this. How many different currencies are? There's cash, obviously. Then there's the ferrite, which is used for your character's general upgrades. Then there's some type of points that you earn for getting favor from the 3 main story characters, which is still just a currency because it's not like an experience point. Or I guess it is technically an experience point because they have like these reputation bars you need to fill up before they give you anything. So that's a whole nother currency that's still used for upgrading your character. And then you have a different type of currency for upgrading your gun. Then you have a different kind of currency. Did I already say car? Then you also have a different kind of currency for buying even more of those upgrade things if you decide to keep doing like the mutant killing TV show thing, which have their own currency, which you can even get even outside of the mutant killing minigame, because guess what? There's every now and again floating boxes and stuff like that you can go collect. Oh, and then when you kill mutants, they also drop glands, which is more of like I guess a junk loot that you can sell to them. So it in itself is just more cash. It's just constantly collecting shit to either sell or use in different ways. I'm not a fan of that. I'm not, and I really hope Doom Eternal doesn't do something like that. I don't mind it being open world and having an occasional collecting thing. Like, hey, look, here's a suit upgrade. Like, look at Doom 2016, right? There were suit upgrades. There were PDAs to find. And then there were weapon upgrades. Am I missing anything? They made it like really simple, but for some reason the car has a different upgrade currency. The weapons have a different upgrade currency. The character has 2 different types of upgrade currencies, so that's 4 altogether. And then you need to use the same currency for upgrading your guns, for upgrading your character to an extent. It's like ferrite is kind of like a sub cash. So like you're not using cash to upgrade your character. So you use ferrite to unlock the next tier, and then you have to use another currency to buy things in that tier. So you're not just constantly using ferrite to like just buy abilities and stuff like that. Oh, and then you also need to find currencies to upgrade your abilities, and then that's a whole nother currency. It's getting a little out of hand. Like there's just constantly collecting shit and being notified of going into an area that how many chests there are to grab and all this other kind of stuff. It's just bland to me. Please watch some gameplay. And I'm sorry that I didn't upload any. I'm sorry, but I didn't feel like it was really worth it enough to do that. I feel like the 30 something gigs, like I feel like I'm probably going to delete this soon enough. It's not like it's taking up a lot of space on a 2 terabyte drive. It's just, I'm not impressed. And frankly, I'll be honest with you, I'm glad I pirated it. Because no one does demos anymore. I know what you're going to say. Well, you pirated it. You can't put a fair shake at it. Well, that's not true. Look, I did it because there's no demos anymore. Really, honestly. And if you paid attention to my channel, that's usually the biggest justification that I have. And I'm glad, like this counted as like my demo. This was my test to see if I really wanted it. And after maybe 3-4 hours being put into it, I don't think this is worth $60. I'm getting this kind of like $30 feel from it. And then they're going to be coming out with DLC and everything, and they're already trying to sell season passes for it and everything. No. No, I'm good. I'm good. id Software, guys, I know you're not listening, but by some heaven's chance that you are listening, this isn't how you do it. There are some things that I really do like, but the amount of really small things that obviously shows that there was a lack of understanding as to what people are looking for in a game. It's not here. Rage 2, I hope Rage 2 is not a beta test for what Doom Eternal is. Do not do this. It's not good. It's just not. So, it's not Bethesda's fault. They are just a publisher, but if they did have any say in the development of Rage 2, shame on you, Bethesda. Shame on you. Wow, I'm just now looking at news right here. id boss Tim Willits wants to make a third Rage game as soon as possible. Wow. Everyone's already talking about how mediocre Rage 2 is, and you're really just jumping the gun. This is what I'm talking about. They're so distant. They're so distant from what people are saying, what people want. I don't know what to say anymore. So that was my 2 cents on Rage 2. Haha, 2 cents, Rage 2. Rage 2 cents. Haha. If you would like to ask me any questions about it or anything like that, I'll be happy to answer. If you have something that you want to bring up, just put it in the comments. This has been Baboom. Peace out.